In this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to install Cocoapods on your Mac. If you go to cocoapods.org, on this page, you will be able to see some information about Cocoapods. So let's learn how to install it. What you want to do is you want to press the Command space key on your keyboard. Press Command space, which is going to open the Spotlight search. Then you want to type a terminal to open the terminal, and then you copy this code, the one that says sudo gem install Cocoapods. So let's copy that, go back to the terminal, and then I'm going to paste this in the terminal. Even though I already have it installed, but I'm going to do it again anyway. Press enter. It's going to ask for your password. Put your password, press enter again, and it should install the Cocoapod for you. So once that is installed, the next thing we want to do is to show how to install a particular library. In this case, we're going to be looking at Facebook library. So what I'll do is I will create a new Xcode project. So let's go to Xcode, and I'm going to create a single view app. Next, let me call this Cocoapods. I'm going to save it on my desktop. Okay, so anytime you want to install a Cocoapod into any project, make sure that you close that project first. Now I'm going to bring up my Finder. This is what I usually do. I'll usually put my Finder beside the terminal, and then because I want to go into this directory inside the terminal, so I'm going to say cd, and I'm going to just drag the file across and drop it, and then you can see that it's copied the path of that file. You can also do cd desktop/cocoapods if you know how to use the command. So, and then press enter. Now we are inside this file. So let me actually open the folder. You can see that we have the Cocoapods folder and then the cocoapods.xcode proj, right? So if I do ls, you can see that it's the same thing here. Okay. The next thing is to initialize a pod file. So to do that, all you need to do is just say pod init. Very simple command to remember, pod init. It will initialize a pod file. Watch what happens here. It will create a new pod file. So then open this pod file. As soon as you open the pod file, you can see that let's remove some of the comments. Right now, all this one is just telling you is that the platform, if you want, this is a comment. So if you want to enable this, you have to do that to remove it as a comment. It's just telling that you want to install for iOS version 9, but we don't need that. I want to show you how simple this file is so that you don't. Let me remove this line, and I'm going to remove this line as well, and this line. You can see that it's a very simple file. Target, the name of your project, do, and then end, and then it says use framework here. Right, so all the pod files that we want to install has to go between this line. So let's go back to Cocoapods website and then find Facebook library. So I'm going to say Facebook. We have so many that does a different thing. The one I'm looking for is the one that says Facebook login. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and it will give you information about what it does. Facebook login, authenticate people with their Facebook credentials. Getting started, you can see here it says add the following lines to your pod file. So these are the lines that we need. So let's copy these 3 lines. Okay, go back to the pod file and then paste. You have to paste it in between the target and end, and then so once you do that, press Command S or go to the menu to save this file, and then close it. That's all we need to do. And then go to your terminal and then do pod install. The steps are very easy. All you need to do is go to the project, cd into the project, initialize your pod, launch the pod file, add the pods that you want to install, and then come here and just do pod install. Now it's downloading all the dependency, even though we did not add both FBSDK core kit, FBSDK login kit, and share kit. Because we added these 3 lines, it automatically knows that it has to install all these other dependencies. So this is the great thing about using Cocoapods. You can close this Windows out now. We don't need that anymore. And then let's go back to the Finder. Okay, now you see that we have two new files, actually three. We have the pod file.log. You should read more about that. Then we have this folder that says pods, which will show you all the pods that's currently installed. And then, because very, very important, this is the last important point, you can see now that we have two projects. We have the one that we created ourselves, cocoapods.xcodeproj, and then we have pods.xcodeproj. Because we have two projects inside our original project, every time you use the Cocoapods to install a library, you need to open your project with the workspace, because workspace allow you to have multiple projects in one. So if you try to run this project now using the xcode.proj, your project will never compile. Okay, so every time you use, it's a mistake you're going to make a couple of times before you realize. I've made that mistake so many times, and then I wonder why my project is not compiling, because I was using the xcode proj. So you should use the XC workspace. So let's launch this now, and if we go on the side here, we can see that we have our pod file here, which shows you can also modify it from here if you want to. And then we have the frameworks that is being automatically added for us. It requires one framework from iOS, which is foundation.framework. It will automatically add that as well. And then these are all the pods that has been installed. So let's close there. So one thing to keep in mind, and this is also very important, is let's say we want to import that Facebook. Let's say import Facebook. You can see that we cannot find it, and this is another thing that you're going to come across, and it's going to give you a headache all the time. You'll be wondering, okay, but I have the Facebook kit, let's say FBS, you cannot find it. Why? The reason is because every time you install your Cocoapod, make sure that you do Command B to build your project. If you don't build your project, most times you're not going to get access to those libraries when you're trying to import them. So this one has also given me so many headaches. We have a build succeeded. So now if I do import Facebook, now you can see that I have access to the three that I'm looking for. So I'm just trying to give you all the tips that's going to make your life easy. So go ahead, install Cocoapods. All the library used in this course are going to be installed by Cocoapods. I may be repeating myself in some of this when I'm installing them, and the reason is because I'm trying to make each section of the course to be independent so that I can use it in other courses. So I hope you find this one useful, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.